This video is for all you Technomancers out there. We will be going through the entire Pestilence skill tree and what some builds could look like. I kindly ask you to sub if you found this video helpful. Now, let's take a look at the skills of the Technomancer. Before we start, I would like to say thank you to Fat Pickle Smith on Reddit. He was the one who figured out all these skills. If you guys want to check out his post and see the Excel tree yourselves, I'll have that description below. For those of you that wish to snipe, and let's be honest, there's a lot of you out there, the Pestilence skill tree is going to be perfect. This tree focuses on weapon damage with specialization in snipers, and assault rifles as well if you're into that. And if you don't know, by the time you're max level, you only have 20 skill points total. It's not too many and it will make picking skills way more important. So starting from left to right, the first skill is going to be Impact Amplifier, which increases weapon damage by 8%, which is a nice little bonus right off the bat. From here, we can branch into two other skills. Suction Module, which will increase weapon leech by 5%. Life leech is important since the Technomancer is healed by damage done, so the extra leech will keep you alive even longer. Sour of Decay will reduce decay skills cooldown by 15%, so skills like Blighted Turret and Blighted Rounds will be used more. After these skills, we will move to the first keystone skill, as I like to call it, Sniper Master. Remember I said the skill tree was for snipers? This is where it starts to get fun. This skill will increase sniper weapon damage by 20%, and also increase sniper drops by 12%. This is an awesome skill because you have a higher chance now at getting better rolls fairly early in the game. The skill you have to take to continue is Drill Coating, which will increase armor piercing by 10%. This will be dope against higher level enemies, allowing you to hit them that much harder. The gray skills you're seeing are the links into the next trees, so you can skip a bit more into the Shaman tree here for some more survivability if you want, but that's going to be talked about much later in the video. Coming to another crossroad, we have skills like Nitrogen Capsules and Toxicologist. The former is great since it decreases your long range distance by 6.5 meters, so you won't have to be further away from your team if they need help quickly. And the latter applies Toxics for 30% longer. And as we get further into the tree, you'll see why Toxic is important for damage. And I haven't even mentioned what Toxic does, my bad. It inflicts a damage over time status effect, which will slowly kill the enemies for you. Moving on, we have to take another Impact Amplifier, which then moves us into Canonade, which when you use your ordinances, Shrapnel, Pain Launcher, or Tools of Destruction, everyone gets a huge damage increase of 30% for 10 seconds. So having one of those abilities in your locker might be a great idea for that bonus damage for your entire team. But if you do want some survivability, you can go on Blur Screen, which will increase health regain by 20% of max HP, but only if you take no damage. Now, I'm not sure if there's a time limit between what no damage is, so we won't know really until the demo comes out. But this skill will be great for snipers or ordnance users since you can fight from a distance and recover. And speaking of ordinances, Blur Screen will lead into a skill called Engineer, which will decrease your turn HP decay rate by 30%, which will keep them in the battle for a longer period of time and help you do more damage. Earlier I mentioned that Toxic will be important later in the tree, and this is where that starts to happen. Purge will increase damage by 10% on enemies who have Toxic on them. So if you're a Toxic spraying maniac, the DPS is going to fly up. We also have another Nitrogen Capsule here, reducing the range by another 6.5 meters. Another Impact Amplifier, but then after this you can grab the Assault Master Keystone skill if you like, which increases assault weapons damage by 20% and the drop rate of assault rifles by 12%. So if you're not into sniping, you can grab this identical skill for the assault weapons. The next bridge will increase either assault or sniper damage by another 12%. We grab another Drill Coating, and then we get to another keystone skill, Two Sides of the Power. This skill is very interesting. You take this skill if you think you can handle not taking damage, since it will increase damage taken by 15%, but damage dealt by 20%. To me, this skill makes perfect sense for a sniper, as you'll be far away from getting hurt. You'll be able to get that extra 20% damage on your critical strikes. We're almost at the end, guys, I promise. The next skill is Sharpshooter, which will increase long-range weapon damage by 30%. Again, this is a huge gain for DPS and snipers. This skill is connected to another keystone skill, Grand Amplification, and this will increase anomaly power by 12% per each amplifier skill node taken. So if we add the 3 that we already have, that will add another 36% damage to your abilities. From everything I've seen, this affects raw damage output of abilities, and that is all, but it's still a pretty nice gain if you ask me. UT14 Clips here is another keystone skill, and it's huge. It increases weapon clip size by 50%, which means more assault rifle and sniper headshotting. This will significantly help add more damage, or give players the opportunity to actually hit something, if their aim's not the best. These next two are also great. Charge Gunshot. First bullet after reload will heal you 200% with a 5-second cooldown. This is going to be able to add much survivability to the Technomancer build. Purge is also great as it adds another 30% damage to enemies with Toxic on them. And finally we made it to the final skill, Empowering Antenna, which when activating decay skills like Blighted Turret or Blighted Rounds will increase you and your teammates' weapon damage by 40% for 10 seconds. This is another huge bonus damage to literally anyone. But I see this skill being more important if you're running a Toxic build, because if you're not going to use any of the Blighted Turret or the Blighted Rounds, the skill is kind of irrelevant. And that leads us to the next question. Is that skill worth at least 13 of your points? If you take a direct route to the end of the tree, it's going to be 13 skill points. And that's not even taking the keystone skills like Sniper Master or Assault Master. If we factor one of those being taken because, well, they're gonna be, that's 14 points total. So at this point, you're left with 6 to fill anywhere else. And it really comes down to be if you're gonna be a sniper or an assault rifle user, or maybe both. And if you're gonna use toxic or ordinances. Alright guys, I looked at the skills and I kind of made 2 builds here. The first one is a toxic build. The idea of using the toxic in the game make it seem like it's gonna be a huge damage dealer. And plus, continuous damage over time seems really cool. The abilities I would use for this build would be Blighted Turret, Blighted Rounds, since I'm assuming Blighted Rounds is going to be toxic bullets. With these 2 abilities, you're going to be able to spread toxic everywhere on all the enemies, which is going to add your DPS way up. And for the third skill, let's say Cold Snap, so we can control some of the enemies easier. Also, I'm not going to be mentioning the link skills, since those have to be taken. At least, I'm pretty sure you do. In the videos, it doesn't look like you can actually skip around. So if we look at the graphic here, I would take Sour Decay at the first junction, and then Drill Coating, Toxicologist, Impact Blur Screen, and Engineer so my Blighted Turret is up longer, poisoning everything around it. And then I'd head for Purge, Assault Master, since I want to be close to the battle. I feel like using Toxic and Snipers might not get the most benefit, since you're going to be shooting slower and at less enemies. And then from here, I take Assault Adept, Grand Amplification, Purge, and Overpowering Antenna to finish the tree. Now, if I can count, that's 17 points right there, leaving only 3 left. And with these 3, I'm going to back up and take some of the linking skills down here. And these are going to be Havoc Nexus, which increases weapon crit damage by 15%. Exposing Toxin, which means every time Toxic is applied to an enemy, vulnerable status is applied, which I'm going to guess means more crit damage. And for the final point, we're going to put it in for Marked for Execution, which makes that vulnerability 40% more effective. I feel like this spec would melt enemies in an instant. It's going to add Toxic everywhere and give you bonus damage to every toxic enemy. And with the extra crit damage, you're going to be popping off on the enemies. And I feel like this will do better in the higher difficulties too, as you can slowly melt the higher HP bosses away from a safe enough distance. Now, let's take a look at an ordnance using Sniper. The abilities here are going to be Pain Launcher, Tools of Destruction, and Fixing Wave for some quick healing and get out of jail free card. I would go Suction Module, Sniper Master, Nitrogen Capsules, Canonade, Nitrogen Capsules again, Sniper Adept, and 2 sides of the power, with Grand Amplification and UT Clips. Now from here, I don't see the need for the rest of the tree. Since we're not using Toxic, putting those extra points in there is gonna be a waste. So that's 15 points right there. Now, you can go Blur Screen and Engineer here again, but I would rather go for the Destruction tree and grab Anomaly Fields, which increases anomaly power by 6%, Ordnance Technician, which will reduce cooldowns of ordinances by 15%, and then I would take Welcome Shot, which will give the first shot after reloading deal bonus damage equal to 15% of your anomaly power. Now, for snipers, this could add a huge DPS boost. Since you're constantly reloading after single shots, the crit damage from this could be huge. And finally, end it with Anomaly Field again. I think this build would be overall for a very good DPS sniper class, with supports of ordinances and a healing ability for you and your team. And there you have it guys, the entire Pestilence skill tree and some builds for you. If you want this type of video for the other 2 trees, please let me know in the comments below. And we can also try doing it for the other classes if the info's there. We're very close to the demo anyways, so I could make some after the demo comes out as well. The Technomancer looks to be an insane DPS class. I would love to hear what you guys think about my builds and if you agree or not. And if you have any better ideas, let me know. Again, if you found this video helpful, subbing or dropping a like would be fully appreciated. And until next time, peace.